Don't be afraid. Just start the tape. Welcome to the Théâtre des Vampires.
The Americans are here.
It's different here. I love it. I never want to leave. Who's that handsome man on the wall up there?
They got a shrine to him. What if they find out we killed him?
We both now exist in two different worlds.
Back to hell with you!
Are you schizophrenic, Louis?
Doomed. Always doomed.
Picked another one over me! What about me and you? You and me and you!
Let me tell you a little something about 18th century Armand.
You fear Armand. You should fear the other one.
I mean, I've got some questions. I don't know about you, but let's do this. All right, let's bring out the creative geniuses who pulled this all together, starting with series composer Daniel Hart. And by the way, that was his music you were listening to while we were all getting settled. Next, we have production designer Mara Lepere-Schloop. Next, we have editor Yuka Shirashuna. You know him as Lestat, the very handsome and charming Sam Reid. And he is also charming and handsome, and he's the executive producer who oversees the Anne Rice Immortal Universe. How's that for a title? Mark Johnson. Hi, everyone. Congrats again on a second season.
Hello.
Thank you.
It's so great to see everybody here. And Roland Jones, who created the show and sort of the mastermind, is so jealous. He is off. He is scouting outside of the country, and the idea that we're all here, all of his major collaborators, without him is I know how hard it is.
We're going to do our part to make him really jealous, and we're going to talk about him a lot tonight, I'm sure. So let's start with, I want to hear from all of you talking about season 2, which is really incredible. I would love to hear from each of you, what's a favorite moment, what's a standout moment from you from the second season that really stands, speaks to the craft and all that you've accomplished? Mark, do you want to start?
I have so many. The one that stands out, and just looking at this and being reminded of it, is at the very end of the first episode of the season, and it's the back of a truck when Louis is talking to Claudia, and we think it's just the two of them, and he's talking about you and me and you and me, and the camera drifts over. There is Lestat. So whether or not he's there in person, the specter of Lestat is going to stay throughout the entire season.
Sam, what about for you?
I think the sets really, for this season particularly, I remember walking onto the set for the first time. There's an incredible theater that they build, that Mara and her team have built, and it's functional, totally functional. We go backstage, you've got all of the dressing rooms, each individual vampire has their own little like style and coffin that's there, and like down to the details, like heartbreaking actually sometimes, because there's so much detail that's impossible for them to film it. That it's sort of, it was astonishing. It was so transporting. That and working with Jacob, obviously. I think like Jacob is such an incredible actor, and the kind of breadth that he goes through this season is sort of like mind-blowing. And having to be with him the whole time and see that has been a real joy. Yeah.
There's so many moments I really love, but if I have to pick one, I would say the scene in the season finale that when Louis is finally meeting real Lestat, and that's the scene I was so lucky to get a chance to cut that. When I was watching the dailies, I was crying. So yeah, that's the scene.
Mara, what about for you?
It's so hard. There's so many great ones. I mean, when I first signed on for this project, originally the 2 seasons were going to be shot as one. It was going to be one. The first book was going to be the first season, and the Teatro de Vampires, the Theater of Vampires, was going to be the first season. And when they split it into 2, which was a brilliant idea, I was like, shit. I was like, that's the one I really want. So getting to do season 2 was amazing to realize that. But I think, just seeing this clip again, it's funny when you are away from it for so long. What's amazing is just, the moment that you see with Sam or Lestat walking into the theater in advance, of the episode 7 sequence. It's just amazing with Daniel's score and with everyone's editing. It's just, I think what's so incredible about this show is just the level of brilliance that everybody brings. And when you see it together, it's just so, I'm so proud to have been a part of it.
Daniel?
One of the first things I started working on for season 2 was the song that Claudia sings at the beginning of episode 4, I Don't Like Windows When They're Closed. And I worked on this, I wrote the song long before it was filmed, and then it was even several more months before I actually got to see it. When I first got to see the opening of episode 4 and see everybody in costume and all the animations in the theater, all the choreography, it just really very fulfilling full circle moment for me.
Mark, a question for you. The TV landscape is so crowded. There are so many shows right now, but critics have obviously, as I kind of called out at the top, really responded so much to this. What is it about the show that you think has resounded so well with critics? Why have critics responded so well to the show? What is it that makes it stand out in such a crowded landscape?
Well, that's a really good question. I just think it's the artistry, and there's nothing about it, and it's so honest and beautiful, and it's I look at it, I just don't see a false moment in it, and I think that, quite frankly, there are a lot of good shows in television, but they ebb and flow, and I think that this show, I feel like, comes out of the starting gate and just doesn't let up, and it embraces themes, really important themes about memory and quite frankly, and different, and love and a family, and quite frankly, who am I, in such an honest way that I think it's pretty much hard to ignore.
And Sam, it seems to have exploded a bit on social media. You may have noticed. What has that been like for you? Why do you think fans have responded so much to the show?
I don't know, but I would say that we're very faithful to the source material. I mean, Roland he's a freakishly talented man. He's got this very intense energy about him, which is he's a lot of second guessing, but he's incredibly confident. And I think that's what the show is like, it's incredibly confident. So you feel strong when you're there, because there's been a lot of agonizing and panicking and freaking out, and a lot of people overcommitting to lots of different decisions, and then everyone is very confident, and particularly in Roland's vision. And Roland, he takes the source material, he respects it, he rips it apart, he spits it up, he chews it out, and then he puts it back, and somehow it's like, it just gets the vibe. Like, the vibe of the books is there, and I think that's really important to the fans, the original fan base, and they have helped a lot. They've really kind of like spread the word online and continue to kind of, generate a sort of fever around the show. And then we have, people into it who've never read the books and who are just into some really hardcore, extreme stuff. Because it's kind of like a show about screaming and shouting and pain and blood and, which you don't really get to do very often. So it's very fun. Yeah.
Just another day on the set.
Basically, like a day on the set is, being covered in blood, crying, being lifted up on a hoist, like being moved around, speaking 4 different languages, somebody eventually brings in an animal of some kind, and then
That's my fault.
yeah, and then of course like you have Daniel Hart's music, which is like like this thing we always know that he's writing, and Rowan probably cheekily shares like what Daniel's thinking for a specific scene, so like quite early on, so we have it kind of like bubbling in the back of your head. But you always get, his demos, or like just an idea, or like 2 frames. And then when you actually see the show with like this full orchestral abuse on top of it, it's very confronting. Like I remember in watching season 1 for the first time, and having to, like, most people raise their hands and they said they watched season 1. So, like, in episode 5, when they have the fight and it's really intense. I remember, like, seeing that for the first time. When we shot it, it didn't seem that intense, I can tell you. And then watching it with the music, with that piece, with the way that, and also the way it's been edited together with Yuka's editing, like the way that this, and Roland's sort of aggression in his kind of confidence, really, it's very hard hitting. And it's cool because at the end of the day, it's a vampire show, but it's managing to kind of get in there under the skin, and that's something to be proud of, I think. Yeah.
Just to if I could add to that, and just Roland's intensity, but also his like foresight. Roland, when we scout, when we went to Paris in advance of shooting and Prague and scouting all around, often, I'd be quizzing him about kind of tone of the scene and intention and what we're doing, and he wouldn't answer any of those questions, but he would give me his earphones, and he would already have a kind of like, even though Daniel hadn't written anything, but there'd be a piece of music that he was like, this is the scene. And it was such an amazing way to communicate what we were trying to achieve. And I've never worked with someone who thinks kind of in these multi-dimensional ways where it's like, and communicates like that. And it's both incredible and horrifying. But I think that it's what makes Roland so amazing.
Daniel, what is your creative process? How do you approach creating the music? It almost is another character. It very much is another character in the show.
Roland and I have a lot of conversations, a lot of disagreements. He gives me a lot of references of other pieces of music, from Bach to Nirvana. And then I go to work and I tinker and I fiddle in my little home studio, and I stay up until 3 a.m. and then I go back and listen to it the next day, and then I say, this is terrible. And then I break it all down and try and build it back up again. And then I send it to Roland, and then he sends me a cake in the mail because he's so happy.
An actual cake?
An actual cake.
What kind of cake?
It was a vanilla cake with some kind of citrusy frosting.
I was expecting blood icing or something.
That would have been on point, wouldn't it? But maybe that wasn't available on short notice. I'm not sure.
I'm available for consulting.
Thank you.
And Yuka, how do you then put all these pieces together? How do you edit this to make sure that the tone is right when you're balancing all of these disparate pieces?
This show is very, very complicated. So in editing room, like when I'm working with Roland, so let's say before Roland comes in to editing room, I read scripts so many times and I edit 2 seasons. So I think I understand this show pretty well. So, and then, I read scripts so many times and I watched every single dailies, and then when I'm ready to show him the cut, I'm pretty confident, okay, this is the scene. But when I hear his like feedback and his thoughts, I'm just learning totally new things every scene. So like his head is so complex, like it's so many filters. So I just want to open up his like head and then see what's inside. Yeah, but and also he's great at editorial. He's very, very good at articulating telling me what he's thinking. So when we are working together, it's just a lot of fun. You know, it just keeps keep making the scene better. So I don't know. It's a lot of shows. Editing process could be very tough, you know, very frustrating process. But this show, working with Lowen, with his like incredible weird talent. Yeah. So yeah, editing is just all about fun, making the show good. And then we got a lot of good performances, amazing music, and then production design, especially performances, is so amazing. So it's really good problem to have, but there's so many good takes, and I have to pick one take, you know, make it to the screen. So just picking performances with all the actors we have, that's just amazing experience for me, and I feel really lucky.
It's really too bad you all don't get along. I mean, the fighting on stage, it's just embarrassing, guys. I don't know. Well, if you weren't doing enough of a high wire act, season 2 also introduced a show within a show. We have I'm not going to say it right because I can't do French, but a Theater de Vampires. So can we play that clip so everyone could get a sense of what that looks like?
I, a vampire, is being hunted with every breath, every heartbeat, every sidelong glance. Louis was saying, "Come to me."
Come to me? Those are his words. He kept coming around after me. Come to me. Fuck you.
Appetite.
Shoot. Said it to me.
How do you know that it was not your own voice, Louis? Speaking your own unspeakable desires. Screaming them in the darkness in the hopes that I would come to you.
Mara, how did you even approach creating that theater? How did you find it? Was it an existing space? How did that begin?
Over the course of the 2 years, we had looked at so many different countries and places and trying to find the right fit for creating Paris in the 1940s, before and during and after the war. And it's funny because we had seen so many different theaters in so many places, and we were trying to figure out whether to build it from scratch or not. And we went to Prague for a scout, and there was this kind of dilapidated old warehouse in the outskirts of the city. And I walked in, and I was like, this is it. And it was just this kind of bare factory floor, but it was like there's something about this, the industrialism and this idea that they had kind of moved in and created the space and had like pillaged a church to outfit some of the elements of it, and I was like, this is 100% it. But you never know how everyone else is going to react to these things, because it literally looked like it was an abandoned factory. And again, these kind of special, the chemistry of our entire teams. Rollin walked in and he just looked at me and he was like, this is it. And I was like, thank God. And then we designed everything around that. So we ended up building quite a bit in the space. And it was cold and miserable, and it was horrible for the actors. But again, a testament to the team that everyone kind of
actually haunted building.
Yeah, it was not great, but
vampires.
Yeah, not maybe vampire rats.
No. Some of the crew from Prague would walk around with a sage
Yeah.
And they felt there was an actual ghost, and there were a few injuries, and people like were pushed off the stage, like felt people being pushed off the stage.
It's the Sam or the chair that Sam sat in.
That was just me. I just broke the chair.
Like exploded, and we like every day we were like, oh, right, sorry about that. But in the end, I think the payoff was great, and I just want to give so much credit. Again, the very first season, when I first was talking to Rollin about the project, there were two things that he was certain about, and it was the casting of Santiago, and it was that he wanted to work with this theater company based in London in 1927 that does these animated theater productions. And flash forward a year and a half later, when we actually started to conceive of season 2, we enlisted that company, and they did make those animations with us. So we worked in lockstep with them, and it was a challenge because we didn't have the script for episode 7, but we knew that the whole kind of Lestat's retelling of what had happened in season 1 in New Orleans was going to be told through the animations of the production company, which is a really screwed up way to, and like inevitably what happens in those scenes. And that's what's so amazing about what Rollin does, is that playfulness of tone of like, this is this very, very serious, horrible thing that's happening, and then there's these garish animations above you that are comically rehashing this domestic abuse situation. So it's such a gift that we got to work with these amazing people, and they produced. It made me look better because we had their craftsmanship on display during the scene.
And Sam, I want to talk about your performance in that scene. What was your acting process like? How did you get yourself into that headspace to do that?
Well, it's always kind of weird when you receive a script and it's like one entire monologue for a television series. It's quite unique. I was a bit freaked out by it originally because it was all set in the exact same spot. So that was 60 minutes of standing in the same spot, and I thought, this can't be real. This is but luckily, Emma Freeman, who directed this episode, who I have worked with a number of times, who I adore, she had the same kind of reaction. She was like, you can't be serious. It's like this guy. And so we did talk, and then there was some like, okay, when are we going to go into the audience? When are we not? So the movement was really important. But this is the crazy thing about Rollin's scripts, is that this is like a triple bind. There's like 5 different things happening every single page at the same time. Lestat is like doing a play that was written by somebody else, pretending to speak lines that he has spoken, is speaking for himself. At the same time, he's trying to like send secret messages to Louis. At the same time, he's trying to mind control the whole audience, and like getting whirled up in his own personal shit, because he's like a very emotional character. So you just ride the wave of Lestat emotion. But yes, it's a wild thing. It's a really crazy thing to attempt to film a play and make it interesting. I don't know if we succeeded, because I can't watch that episode. But
you did.
I think it's brave though. It's super brave, and that's why I really admire Rollin. Is that he's like, we're going to do a whole play for a whole episode, and it's going to work. And it's gut wrenching, and it's the end of Claudia. So, sorry, I know everyone's seen it.
Spoiler alert.
Well, you're late.
There are books.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a big episode, and the way that it's done is very contained. It kind of fits into our chamber piece from season 1, but in a more meta context. So you have to really think about that stuff when you're acting, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, it all leads up to a pretty epic finale, which we have a clip from, so let's take a look at where it takes you.
I didn't know it was a gift. I wore it like a curse. I was selfish. I tried to make nights off, but I wanted you to suffer. Because I was suffering.
Shall we list all the ways we have wronged each other and why it will never be right between monstrous?
I came to thank you for the gift you offered me, the gift I denied, for the nights in front of me, where I might learn to live honest. Thank you.
September 8th, 1973. September 8th, 1973. It was 11:07 here. It would have been 9:07 in San Francisco. Armand called me. Were you there?
Yeah.
Did you hurt yourself?
I was lost. And I was in a dark way. Yeah. I was thinking about
I can't get her out of my mind. You have the same problem. I can't, Louis. I can't.
Hey, it's not on you. You hear me? I carried her home. I made you turn her. I saved her from a fire. So a half century later,
she looked at me at the end like a child looking to her father. But I was never.
I noticed you weren't watching.
Well, it's a bit hard to see.
Can you watch yourself?
I mean, you get used to it. You do have to, you know, particularly in ADR and things. It's a bit intense watching yourself right here like that with the neck crane as well. But how about that very intense music by Daniel Hart?
I know, I was going to say, Daniel, the question has to go to you. Talk about that music. How did you even approach scoring that scene?
A lot of season 2's music revolved around the Théâtre de Vampire. And because Lestat was absent physically from a lot of season 2 up until the end, I made the decision at the beginning of season 2 to purposely withhold the main themes that I'd written for season 1. Three big themes. The music that plays when Louis gets turned by Lestat in the first episode of the series, which becomes Louis's theme. The love theme between Lestat and Louis, and then Claudia's theme. These three themes, we tried to keep them out of season 2, keep them away. We were focused on other things were happening. This was Louis and Claudia on their adventure, trying to find other vampires, becoming a part of this theater company, the love relationship between Louis and Armand. All these things were left away. And I was like, we're going to find a way. We'll get back to those themes. I love those themes. We'll get back to them. And I was just chomping at the bit. Finally, this final piece of music in the finale of season 2, I was able to work in Louis' theme, Claudia's theme, and then it ends with the love theme between Lestat and Louis. It made me cry when I was writing it, and when I watched it over and over again as I was preparing it for the orchestra. I guess I'm glad that I made that choice to withhold those themes. It felt very powerful and right for the moment. It seemed really obvious too. Like, what else would I do there? There's no other choice. Just put these themes back in for these characters.
So where does that leave us heading into season 3? What can we expect? Mark, what can you tell us?
Very little, actually. These seasons 1 and 2 are based on the book Interview with the Vampire, and this one is we're a little bit more. It's as Sam said earlier. Roland Jones is very much his story, his storytelling, but he has great respect for Anne Rice. And so it really is Anne Rice through Roland Jones. And I guess I can say there's going to be an awful lot of Lestat in season 3.
And a lot of Daniel Hart as well. Yeah.
I hear there's going to be singing.
A lot of songs.
There's going to be a lot of songs.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, we've got to end it there. Thank you all so much. Thank you all for coming.